All right. So do you want to start off by introducing yourselves to everybody?
Oh, okay. I am CSO Canada. Also, I answer to Carol. And as Carol, I'm really pumped to be here tonight with Courtney and Stephanie to talk about some of my books, including Petra's Ghost, which is a scary one and therefore on theme.
Yes.
It's perfect.
And we read it and we loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you enjoy it? Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
It's kind of a different one in terms of that genre. You know, it was promoted as literary when it first came up, but then it ended up on all these, like on Bloody Disgusting's top 10 horror novels coming out. And my publisher is going, what the hell? You know, and so.
What did you write?
What the hell did you write, lady? And I said, I told you there were creepy bits. But yeah, and it actually, it came in as a semi-finalist in the Goodreads Choice Awards. I lost to Stephen King. So that was pretty, it's awesome to lose to Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually a real honor.
Right. That's really impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what made you want to become a writer?
A certain amount of boredom. I'd always liked to write, and I'd been in IT for, I don't know, 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And I found myself at home trying to stop two teenage girls from self-destructing as often is the case. And so I needed to amuse myself with something. And I thought, I'm going to try and write a book. And I walked the Camino de Santiago, which is this 500-mile pilgrimage in Spain in 2015. And when I came back, I wanted to write about it. But everybody and their brother's writing a memoir about the Camino. You know, so I thought, I'm going to write a thriller that's set on the Camino, because a woman actually did go missing and was murdered while I was there. So it was kind of
while you were walking the trails?
Yes, she was just missing at that time. We didn't know what had happened to her, and it was not a happy thing that happened to her. But, you know, the story's not about her, but it gave me the idea of putting something kind of ominous on this spiritual trail
journey
that everybody talks about. Yeah.
How did you have motivation to keep walking after hearing something like that? I feel like that would have really freaked me out.
Yeah, you know what? Like, unbelievably, I felt really safe, except for one section, which is where she disappeared, which was kind of a sketchy section of the Camino. And a lot of our friends and the guys, well, friends we'd met on the trail and guys who were there made sure that they were walking in groups with women, like making sure that they were okay. But the rest of the time, I'm telling you, I mean, I was like all alone in the mountains, and, you know, some guy would pop out from behind a rock, and I don't know. I really felt wonderful and safe, and I had such a great time. And so it didn't really, and I felt badly when I came back and I wrote this book, and some people said to me, oh, I wanted to walk the Camino. Now, after reading your book, I never want to walk the Camino. It really is, you know, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure it is.
Killed there very often.
Sure.
What made you want to walk the Camino? Like, what was your draw? How did you find out about it?
I'd seen in some movies. I don't know if you've ever seen them, Way with Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez. They did a book called they did a movie called The Way, and the scenery would just blow my mind. And this idea that you walk all day and then you stay in 1,000-year-old monasteries and sleep, you know, in them. And it's just, I don't know, it just seemed like a really cool thing. And I love to hike, and I'm a real outdoorsy girl.
Sure.
So I really love that idea. So yeah, walking, it's 30 kilometers. How much is that in miles? Anyway, it took me a month to walk 500 miles. So I walked every day, 6 hours, with everything I owned on my back. And it was a cool place, man. Very cool.
And you walked the whole thing by yourself?
I went alone, but you know, you get a posse, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Start connect over a month. You're going to connect with people. Yeah.
Yeah. So you meet people, and it's pretty cool.
Did you feel like you came back different, like had different outlooks on things or felt different about yourself after you accomplished that huge hike? That's impressive. That's something.
It felt kind of like Carol 2.0, you know, like I was
Like a supercharged version.
so relaxed, you know,
Yeah.
because all you have to do is walk all day and drink a lot of wine at the end of it. And
Mhm.
man, did we drink a lot of wine. You just, yeah. And I hadn't been in a car. I remember it was really weird when I got in a car because I hadn't been in a car for a month. Any kind of vehicle, right? You know, and that was really strange. But also, I was just so relaxed because on the Camino, you just kind of walk until you get where you're going, and then you stay there, and then you walk and you get where there's no real. And when I came back home, and it was my husband was trying to plan my birthday party. Okay, so it was a big number birthday. Okay, he's trying to plan. He's going, and so then we're going to do this. And is it okay if we do that? And I go, man, you're killing my buzz, totally.
You're like, I haven't had any responsibility. I just walked and I stayed where I wanted to stay and making me do these things.
Wherever you end up that day. Yeah. So it I don't know, it kind of taught me life can be a little more like that, where we're not always concentrating on where we're going. We're just kind of keep moving and don't worry about it quite as much. So that lasted about a month, and then I was like, oh, I always
back to reality.
Now you have to buy your real expensive wines and things like that to keep up with what they have there, I'm sure.
Yeah, their wine was like €1 a bottle, and it was really, it was like one step above fruit juice, you know, or else we wouldn't have been able to drink so much of it. But it was real tasty.
Well, kind of back to your writing. What are things that, or what advice would you have for somebody that wanted to start writing? Like if they were just kind of like you, they were in the IT field and they just want to kind of get started. How would they do that?
Well, I mean, I see a lot of people trying to do the kind of self-publishing thing. They write a book and that's amazing. Anybody who can write a full novel is like, my hat is off to them. And I don't want to diss self-publishing, but I see a lot of people, you know, getting pulled in by people who give, you know, they pay a lot of money to, who are basically putting their books out there and claim to that, and really all they're doing is self-publishing. So I would ask people to be careful of that. If you have to pay somebody to make your book be published, you might want to think twice about that. People are supposed to pay you for the book to be published, you know. So like that's one thing. But take some courses, check out some classes, talk with other writers, the community. I'm sure you in the artistic work that you're doing here, you probably have a lot of people within the community of podcasting or whatever that, like, you know, you talk with and you get ideas with and you commiserate with, you know. So it's similar for writers. So, you know, try to learn something, because people will just write and write and write. And I've had people bring me novels, and it's 300 pages of lovely writing that has no structure or rhyme or reason or anything that connects, you know. So, you know, those things are important. It isn't all art. A lot of it is, you know, stuff you got to sort of learn. So that sounds like really boring grandma stuff to tell people, you know.
Well, but it doesn't.
Learn the things you have to do, and don't, you know. But
no, it does actually. Yeah, be involved. You know,
educate yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, I mean, like just like you had the structure. You knew exactly kind of where you had like a flow of what you were wanting to talk about, and you had your theme and everything. So, I mean, it was great. I love the structure of the book that you had, the Petra's Ghost. It flowed. Yeah. Each of the chapters kind of built on top of each other.
Yeah. And it's not traditional horror for sure. I mean,
Mm-mm.
because it does take a long time to build, but and sometimes it was a little tough because people who are hardcore horror fans thought it, moved too slow. People who weren't hardcore horror fans said, "Why did you put all that nasty stuff on the Camino?" I got nasty letters. How could you take a spiller to a pilgrimage and put this nasty shit on it?
Oh no.
So I enjoyed it.
I did too.
Yeah.
I found myself at a lot of chapters like, okay, I'm gonna read a little bit more. Like I really, honestly, like I felt like they had like these nice kind of subtle cliffhangers at the end of a lot of the chapters that I kept reading. And we'll talk about it more when we talk about the book. But there was one part in the chapter when Daniel first meets the weird thing in the cornfield. I was like reading in my bed. I had my like Kindle. I had the lights off. No joke, because I'm a big scaredy cat. I like reached over to my lamp on my end table and I was like, I'll just put this on while I read the rest of this chapter. I had my dogs running around. I'm like, I heard too many noises. I was like, no, I need to see things. I'm going to keep reading this book. So from that point on, I had my lights on.
That's good because I did have a little fun scaring people. Parts of
well,
it,
you definitely
and there
freaked
wasn't
me
a
out
whole lot of
times.
it.
Yeah,
You didn't have. There was not like the whole. It actually had a plot to it. It wasn't just to scare you. There were things in there that kind of like drove it to the next thing that was going to happen in the book, which I appreciated.
I felt like my imagination was like going while I was reading it, which kind of like amplified the creepiness of it. So. Yeah, lights were on for me.
Yeah, out of this, our horror podcast, she is definitely the scaredy cat. That is for sure.
100%. Do you have specific influences when it comes to writing? Do you have any authors that you admired or used as inspiration when you were writing?
Well, given my age, I mean, my generation cut their teeth on Stephen King. So if I don't say Stephen King,
sure,
you're going to be disowned, right?
And everybody says Stephen King, so it becomes sort of boring. But yeah, I read The Stand, I think when I was 14 or 15, and it like changed my life, and I just was blown away. And then so Stephen King, it was definitely in so many ways, and but also Shirley Jackson. I don't know, she did. The Haunting of Hill House, that would probably be what guys know. That's on it. Yeah. And she wrote a short story called The Lottery, which to this day is the New Yorker received the most mail ever about anything they ever published because people were so outraged by what she wrote. And so she wrote horror, but definitely literary horror. And was an incredible writer. So definitely Shirley Jackson was a big one of mine for sure. And also, well, Canadian plug, Margaret Atwood, who is a big Stephen King fan, and she probably most famous now for the Handmaid's Tale, which is horror. I don't know why anybody doesn't realize that is a horror movie.
Sure is. It's messed up. It sure is. Yes.
So yeah, those are kind of my influences.
We had covered a couple of episodes that we did on the podcast of movies that were made from Stephen King books. So yeah, he's definitely got some. I mean, anytime in that horror genre, Stephen King's going to be creeping through the corner somewhere.
Yeah, it really, we know it's going to be creepy. It just depends on how the director like depicts it basically from the book and the storyline.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's kind of a cool thing for sure.
But now when you reviewed, did you do the new Pet Cemetery or the old Pet Cemetery?
We did the original one.
Yeah.
The original.
The one from I think it was 70.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want to play with you. Yeah.
Creepy echoing voice in the house.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. It was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Great film.
We did a whole season on classic horror movies, so we knew we had to put the original Pet Cemetery in that list for sure.
Plus we have like Carrie, The Shining, and The Tall Grass.
Yeah. One of our first seasons. It was good.
Tall Grass. That's the recent one they've done, right? Like that was actually a Canadian film, wasn't it? That's the one where it was in the cornfields. Super.
Yeah,
that was
where they just keep getting lost in it. It was. It had like this like you teleported kind of like a weird like porthole kind of thing. It was a very interesting kind of trippy movie.
It was a trippy movie. I'll say that.
Mind bender. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mind bender.
Absolutely. I find myself like shouting at the TV sometimes, but I guess they can't hear me. Whatever.
Maybe they can.
Don't do that.
You never know. You never know.
Like, don't go up there. All right. Should we talk about Petra's ghost?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure. What do you?
Okay.
Yeah. What are we gonna say?
Do we want to give our listeners kind of a quick synopsis of what this story is about?
Okay. There's this Irish guy who has his wife has died, and he is walking the Camino de Santiago in Spain, and with the plan to spread her ashes. And it's at a time when a woman has disappeared off the Camino. And he meets someone named Ginny, who he kind of likes. But after he meets her, lots of very strange and bizarre things start happening, and trouble ensues. That's
That's a good way to put it. All kinds of stuff ensues.
Yeah. Yes. So so that's kind of what it's about. Unless you wanted, like, I don't know. A lot of it's got spoilers.
Did any of the experiences that Daniel had in the book, or similar to any experiences that you had, that kind of inspired you to kind of put him in those situations?
Just about every single one of them.
Okay.
In fact, if you go to my website, shekillslit.com, I have a whole Camino section, which actually has my original blog that I was doing pretty much every day that I was on the Camino. And you'll see a lot of pictures and stuff that you will recognize from the book, and places that they went. Some of them, like, I made up, not made up. Everything in the book is authentic in terms of all the cultural landmarks, all the places that they go. I was a real stickler, even if if it takes more than a day to walk there, I would not say that they got there in 5 minutes or something. It was really important for me for everything to be authentic in it. So, for instance, the wine fountain, which you guys must have liked, the one where they could go up and they could actually fill their water
Caught
bottles
my attention
up with
immediately.
wine, exists.
Yeah.
It does exist.
That's crazy. How is it very often throughout is it
like constantly running?
Yeah. Is it constantly running, or is it multiple locations in different cities?
No, it's just this one place on the side of a monastery, and you go up, and there's 2 spigots, and one says vino and one says agua, and you just fill up. You fill up with wine.
And it's warm.
Vino.
And they've been giving wine to pilgrims, I don't know, for like 800 years. It's This is the tradition that they're supposed to go and get it. So, so
I mean, if it's tradition, you need to do it, right?
Of course. I had to do it.
You got to be a pilgrim. You got to do the pilgrim thing.
Got to completely submerge yourself in the experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I condone all of that.
That was a lot of the stuff I had personal experience with, but some of the things I had to research, and I researched a lot of it because you probably saw there was a lot of about the artwork and the culture and the history about certain things that they were seeing. And so even if I had seen them, I still had to sort of research them so I could give the background on them. Right. But yeah.
Were any of the characters in the book inspired by people you may know or had met on the trail? Or like loosely inspired by?
Well, so a writer once told me that every character in your book is a thinly veiled version of yourself.
Okay.
But Daniel is based on my husband. My husband is from Limerick, Ireland.
Okay.
And so when I was going to write a book from the perspective of a man, I decided to pick a man that I knew the best. So he's pretty much Daniel, except, younger and without half the annoying habits that he has.
He's not as neurotic as Daniel, is what you're saying. Got it.
Yeah, well, yeah. So he's Daniel, and to some extent, Ginny was me, except like also much younger. But the Rob, the Dutch
The
guy, was
Dutchman.
actually a guy that I ended up walking a better part of the Camino with, and that was based on him. So yeah,
He seemed like a really nice guy. I'm sure you had
Yeah.
all kinds of conversations with him.
Stories and stuff.
he
Yeah.
was an awesome, nice guy. And the really horrible, hideous Englishman was actually based on a guy who was there too. And I don't know whether if he'll ever read my book and see himself in it, but
You're telling him now. You
he
are the
probably
one.
wouldn't have realized the connection if he was like that in real life. So
Because he's probably a complete ass. Because it sounds like
never
it.
piss off a writer, because they will put you in a book and
No
make
mercy.
you horrible. Yeah.
Because he was. Every time he popped up in the book,
Ugh.
in any chapter, I'm just like, really? Right now? You
When
got to
see
be
that glowing cigarette, you're like, oh,
I know. Just
Yeah.
want to kick him.
Yeah. Yeah, he was real.
Did you try to dodge him like Ginny was doing? Just like get out of there.
I know.
I absolutely did. No, and that was absolutely true in the book, where she hikes all day and goes like way, like 20 miles, 30 miles just to try and get away from him. And then he shows up anyway. Yeah, that happened.
How?
Like, how are you so quick? Because I envisioned him as this like bigger man for one reason or another. And I don't know if you had given that description or if I just made it up on my head, but I just a real annoying, like big, like gruffy guy is kind of what I envisioned as this character.
Yeah. And well, I mean, I think Daniel says in it, he says that the asshole must have taken a taxi because they couldn't figure out how he got there.
We got so quick.
And there's people who did that, like I walked with someone for a while and she couldn't walk the distances that we were doing, and so she wanted to stick around with us, so she would walk 15 kilometers and then take a taxi the rest of the way and meet us at the
That's
wherever
cheating.
we were going. It is. I don't know. Yeah, Princess Pilgrim.
I think you mentioned that in there as well.
Yeah, Princess Pilgrim. But yeah, so sometimes people do that, or they get an injury and they have to do the last bit that way. That happens sometimes.
Well, it seemed like
fall.
Yeah, as far as like the terrain, it seemed like it was kind of in different sections was a little bit more rough than others.
Sure.
And the blisters and getting your feet wet, because obviously you want to try to keep your feet as dry as possible since they're the ones that are taking you on this trip. Did you get a lot of blisters or any kind of like injuries while you were walking?
I got blisters once, and it was so stupid because it was from my flip-flops when I was sightseeing after I'd walked, right? So I'd walked all day, and I've been walking for half a month, but I go sightseeing with my flip-flops on instead of my hiking boots, and I got a blister. So stupid. But I did exactly what they, that whole thing where the needle and thread thing that you put through, and I was okay. But I mean, it hurt a lot. Like, I mean, I talk about in the book how there's like 3 sort of phases to the Camino, and the first part is the body, and the last part's the soul, and the middle part is the mind. The first part, your body's just trying to adjust to what you're doing to it, and so like there's lots of aches and pains. If you get through that, then it's usually pretty simple from there on in. But yeah, other than that, I didn't have any injuries. But I saw a guy, he was in his 20s, and he had his feet up like at the albergue when we got there at the hostel, and his the bottom of his feet were just like one huge blister. Like there's people who have to go to the hospital because they get infected and they're like all messed up. So yeah, so I was feeling all superior and stuff.
You're just skipping by the guy with the blisters.
Twice his age, and it's like
you didn't prepare like I did.
Yeah. So as you can see, this was really deep and spiritual and soulful for me. It was all about calling out the princess pilgrims and laughing at the kid that got the blisters. Yeah.
While you're sipping on your wine.
I know.
Uh-huh.
Getting your wine. That's great. So if this book would be perfect to be like a movie. Because we were actually talking about it before we got on here today.
It would be an awesome movie. It really would be.
I would totally be into it. Who would you play as the characters of Daniel and Jenny and Rob?
Well, I've given a lot more thought to this than you would have thought, because there has been a lot of interest in it for a movie.
It would be
and
such a good movie.
I can't say who, but right now we do have people who I'm expecting to hear something pretty soon.
Oh, that's awesome!
That's
Congratulations!
really
so, COVID unfortunately got in the way. I had at least a dozen studios interested and producers interested in Petra's Ghost, because it is kind of unique, right?
Sure.
And my only requirement was that it would not devolve into zombies on the Camino. Like that's
right.
I
story.
pictured it could be a really eerie, spooky kind of thing, and that would be great. So yeah, I have thought about it. The problem is, like, I wrote something because I thought about this, and I have to write their names down because I don't. Okay, so Colin Farrell for Daniel, but he's too old, unfortunately. Young Colin Farrell.
I see where you're going with that.
We could go back in time. So too old Colin Farrell, and that guy from Peaky Blinders. Do you know this Peaky Blinders guy, this Cillian Murphy? He's got eyes to like, oh my God, to die for.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, but he's too sexy. He's too pretty. So I found this guy. He played what was it, Killy in the Hobbit movies. I have wrote down his name, Adrian. Aidan Turner. I don't know. Google him.
I'm Googling him right now.
Oh, you Google him, and
visual.
He is a lovely young man.
Aidan Turner. Oh, I approve.
Okay.
I can totally see that as Daniel.
Curly hair.
100%. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
So that's
not that it matters, but I approve.
Yes. For Ginny, I was thinking someone like Brie Larson. It's good, she did Room and that kind of stuff, and stuff like that. And it's funny, for the guy that I've always envisioned for Rob is actually an Irish guy, not a Dutch guy, but I bet he could pull it off. Chris O'Dowd, who is he's more famous in Britain.
Was he in Bridesmaids?
Yes, he was the love interest in Bridesmaids.
He was the cop in Bridesmaids.
Oh, what? Oh my God, I love him.
I could see that.
I love him.
But he just has that kind of super nice guy
charisma.
You can trust.
Always a smile on his face. Yeah.
Very approachable.
Chris O'Dowd for Rob. That would be.
I mean, I would have watched the movie anyway, but I'm definitely watching it.
If I could get that cast, I'd be pretty happy.
It'd be solid,
We'll see. But there's been a lot of interest, and it was unfortunate because we were going great gangbusters with it, and then the pandemic happened and everything screeched to a halt.
Sure.
So it's only recently started to sort of that people are getting to a point where they're going to invest in movies, and this one would be filmed in Spain, and that there was a time where none of us North Americans were even allowed in Spain, so it couldn't even happen, so it's held up things quite a bit. But I'm very hopeful, and I am actually hopeful that in the next month or two I will have something very interesting to announce.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Fingers crossed. That's really exciting.
We're going to be keeping up with you for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Basically stalking you.
You're okay if we stalk you, right? I mean, no? Is that
too creepy? Shadowing? Is shadowing better?
Heavy shadowing. Heavy shadowing.
After I heard you guys talk about Southbound, I was just picturing you like talking about the fuck. And then they was like this cornfield, and oh my God.
Typical cornfield. What's going to happen now? You're going to find a dead body? I don't know.
Why is it always in corn?
Pick another vegetable.
Cornfield,
Pick another
really.
vegetable.
Uh-huh.
Corn.
No, never happens in a wheat field or kale.
No, green beans. Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, corn is creepy.
Yes, very creepy.
We actually what was the movie that it was our last cornfield movie.
Oh yeah. Which movie was that?
I don't know, but one of our listeners actually had messaged us on social media and said that she lives in the Northwest and she is, has always lived next to cornfields, and they do find dead bodies.
Like, I would imagine you'd find something.
Yeah, she said it was just like one of those things where you grow up next to it, and it's one of those things that you just know. You just don't go into a cornfield, is what she said. And I'm
Hard
like,
pass.
okay, all right, that's why we live here.
No, thank you.
They don't grow corn in Florida.
I wouldn't go near it, so I don't know.
Yeah, they actually do grow corn, but it's not like a main cash crop.
I look
thing.
for the vineyards is what I more look for.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
we do have a few here. We have one local in St. Augustine, which actually I think I drank a half a bottle.
Oh yeah,
earlier today.
We keep them afloat for sure. Yeah.
Don't judge. If you could have done anything different with the story after you published it, would there be anything that you would have changed or anything like that?
Unfortunately, your first novel is always going to be your first novel. And, I look at it and I look at some of the writing and I just cringe like 16 different ways. I'm like, oh God, like that's so overdone. So I think I'm going to spend the rest of my life looking at the book going, oh, how could I do that? But I understand that happens to a lot of writers, and so in some ways I wouldn't change anything at all, because I've really it's had great legs. I just can't believe the interest and the way it got picked up, particularly by the people who like scary books community, and so. In some ways, I'd leave it where it is. One thing I would do is I wouldn't have had a pandemic the year after that it came out, because I might be making a movie by now. So I would have changed that. And my next two books pretty well came out in a pandemic too. So yeah, I would change the pandemic. That I would change.
Well, I would approve of that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has affected everybody across the board,
yeah.
Financially, and just like trying to move up and do new things. It's just stopped completely.
Yeah, it's been interesting times we live in.
Yes. Would you read us an excerpt from Petra's Ghost?
Would you like an excerpt from Petra's Ghost?
We would love
told me 1 minute max, but the smallest I could get was like 1 minute 20 seconds.
You know what, girl? Okay, you do you.
We're easier to deal with than he is. So
okay, all right.
You
Dustin.
do you. You do you.
Dustin runs a tight ship.
Well, we set this one up pretty well because Daniel and Ginny have just been, they were at the wine fountain a couple of hours ago, and they've been walking a long, long time, and they are getting tired, and their wine buzz has totally worn off.
Yeah.
And has been replaced by mushroom cloud headaches, and they and it's dusk, and they are coming by what are they walking by?
A cornfield.
Why not?
Damn cornfield.
Damn cornfield. And a scary ass figure runs across the field and into the corn, and of course Daniel goes in after him.
This is literally where I turned the light on my nightstand. I'm not even kidding. This is where it happened.
This is the exact second that it happened.
Okay. The quiet night is amplified inside the dense corn. He can hear Ginny faintly shouting from the road to come back, but the tall, dry stalks seal him in with their tight silence like a vacuum or the lid of a coffin. He continues to move deeper through the rows, holding up the next to useless flashlight, watching for bent leaves or other hints of where the figure has gone. He's about to give up when he hears breathing, labored and raspy, as if the windpipe were obstructed or had undergone an emergency tracheotomy. Daniel slowly pushes through towards the rasping sound. The outline of a figure in a red fleece sweater comes into view up on his left, standing still in the corn. This is where I do my really bad Irish accent.
Oh, I can't wait. Go.
Excited.
I don't know what you're at, but you scared the hell out of us back there. No response, no movement, just that beleaguered breath. Daniel moves closer, tries again. Listen, I don't want any trouble, but it's late, all right? He takes a deep breath and sighs. Jesus, he's tired. Why don't you clear off home and quit frightening people, Nate? He takes a step closer and raises the flashlight beam to the kid's face, except he can't see the face, only what's left of it, through stringy clumps of hair. A thick protruding tongue sticks out, swollen and bulbous, the cracked lips and teeth only partially visible behind it. Just before Daniel drops the flashlight, he sees a large, shiny black beetle crawl out of the mouth, then back in again, using the slack, gray chin as a bridge. Spooky,
Okay.
spooky.
You know what? I really wish, and I don't know, do you have like an audio of your book?
No,
because I really actually wish
great.
you did it.
Yeah.
I listened to it again.
And I liked your Irish accent.
Yeah.
Don't you cut yourself short like that. I liked it.
As Americans, we thought it was fantastic.
100%.
Yeah, I'll have to bring the real deal down here, but he's upstairs watching Netflix. But yeah, there's an audiobook of my first Starr novel, the crime series I do about Candace Starr. So there's an audiobook for that.
Okay.
Which I felt that the lady who did it was far too prissy for the language, because you know the F-bombs do fly pretty frequently and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I hope we're seeing this in audio and video soon.
Yeah, because I listen to podcasts all the time. Yeah. So audiobooks are kind of my jam as well. So yeah, you know, whenever you decide to do it, I'll wait.
Your voice would be great for it.
A lot of people's jam these days. I know my son likes to, you know, he's got like a long commute to work, and you know, he listens all the time that way, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to do something else as you're listening to the book, because people are far more multitaskers nowadays than they used to be.
Driving or something. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I don't listen to a whole lot of music now. I just listen to podcasts and audiobooks. So yeah,
there's one I don't know what you call it, but oh gosh, this is terrible. I cannot remember the website. I have to look it up another time. Anyway, I did a short story once called "The Cost of Living," and it was about a woman having to. Well, I believe she's killed her husband with the stilettos of her Jimmy Choos, but
damn,
she calls her mother to help get rid of the body, and it's freaking hysterical, but also pretty
grim.
Fun. Anyway, that one is online as a piece of flash fiction, and I read that one. I read for it, and it's still one of my favorite things to. I don't know.
Oh, we'll look it up for sure.
Check it out.
I'll send it later. Yeah,
absolutely.
What it was, but I did that a few years ago. That's before I published my novels, and and I got to read for it, and that was fun.
That's awesome.
I love that. Yeah, we'll definitely be listening.
For sure. Carol, will you play a game with us?
Oh, is this Would You Rather?
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
I'm so excited.
Yay. Okay. Every time we do like a bonus episode, this is just kind of like our little shtick. It's just like we just have like
something
these goofy
fun.
Would
Kind
You
of break
Rather
it up.
questions.
Yeah.
So I have like a handful of questions I'm going to ask, and we'll just see how we feel about them. All right.
Okay.
Okay, first one.
I haven't even heard these, so
they're on my phone.
Yeah. I'm with you, Carol.
I've only played once with my 8-year-old granddaughter, and I think your game's going to be different.
Well, it won't be bad. No, it's probably going to be along the lines, of your granddaughter.
Okay, first one. Would you rather turn bright purple when embarrassed or sweat so much you soak through your clothes?
Oh, well, I already sweat so much that I soak through my clothes.
Heard that.
I'm a runner, so
My hands are clammy right now. It just happens. Mm-hmm.
if we're talking like whenever I'm embarrassed that would happen, I think I'd rather turn purple because that would make me far more interesting.
Yeah, I'd rather turn purple as well.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
I don't want to sweat.
No. Because at least I feel like you can, like, if you turn purple, you can play it off a little bit better than being like, yeah, I'm just really wet.
Yeah, I just turn
on my
purple when I'm
shirt.
happy.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
You
or
play it off
embarrassed, whatever.
better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as long as it's not permanent, I'm
Right. It eventually fades away.
Right.
Mhm.
Maybe to like a blue, a light lavender, like a lavender purple, maybe.
Something bright enough.
Whatever.
All right, next one.
Next one.
Okay. Would you rather wear someone else's dirty underwear
Oh, gross.
or use their toothbrush? I go toothbrush.
I would go toothbrush.
Oh, yeah. I think it would be toothbrush. Once again, it depends on the person in some ways, but
100%.
yeah.
And you know what? You have seen probably all kinds of nasty stuff, especially on the Camino.
You're not borrowing anybody's anything on the Camino.
You're
I'm
like,
sure.
you know what? You keep yours. I'll keep mine. We're good.
But nowadays, we're not even allowed to, hug people.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't even go near people. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess it would
Toothbrush.
have to be the toothbrush.
The toothbrush.
That feels less nasty to me than someone else's underwear.
I don't know. Both are pretty gross.
That could be pretty nasty.
I don't know. Moving on. Please move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have a 1-minute conversation with your past self or your future self?
Oh, with my past self, because I'd say, "What the hell were you thinking?" No,
You just scold them for a minute.
seriously. I think about I don't know. My next novel coming out is got a really evil, frightening teenage girl in it, and
Mhm.
and I based her on not only the 3 teenage girls that I put through the teen years, but myself. And I went around and I interviewed women and I said, "What's the most hideous thing you did as a young person?" And and when I was recalling all these things, I look back and I'm going, "Oh my God! Like, was your brain diseased or what were you thinking?"
What made you think to do that?
Yeah.
Were you
So,
okay?
I'd go back and I'd give myself a little ass whipping. I think it's
Mhm.
smart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it together. What about you, Court?
I would probably, I don't know.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, I'd probably go to my future self.
Mm.
I mean, my past self, meh. I mean, it is what it is.
Mhm.
I am who I am. Love me or hate me. Yeah, but I'd probably give myself advice for my future self to say, hey, just be kind, be nice, do good things. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard because future self, what if you don't want to know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if you just don't want to know? But
Your
I think
future
I
self
kinda,
is a cat lady that has no friends.
right? I don't want to know that, but then I kind of do want to know that because then maybe you can
could
change
prevent
it.
it,
I don't
right.
know. Yeah. I think I'd go future too. There seems to be more variables there. I
Maybe.
think I'd go future. I don't know. What if I don't want to know?
I don't know. Well, what if you went to your past self and you
And that
manipulated
changed your current self.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh,
that's too much.
that was a really deep one. I don't like that. Go ahead.
Let's move on. Okay. Would you rather lay in a box for 1 hour full of spiders or full of snakes? I say neither. Hard pass on both. That sounds awful.
I would do snakes. I can't do spiders.
Oh,
I can't do
so
spiders.
bad.
Mm-mm.
Do you know what? I think I'd go for the snakes too. I had pet snakes. I think I could handle that. But the
Yeah.
spiders, no, it's all that little skittering.
Yes.
Nope. I don't want them in my eyes or my mouth.
Nope.
No.
And if it's full of them, there's a crap ton more spiders than there are snakes in that box.
What if they bred and there's little baby spiders everywhere? No. Nope. Good.
Snakes. It has to be snakes.
Snakes. No, I'd go for snakes too.
Uh-huh. Oh, that sounds terrible. Okay. Would you rather be constantly itchy or constantly sticky?
Oh.
Wow. That feels a little bit like the sweating question.
What would I want?
The better of two evils.
I guess
Sticky.
I would do sticky.
Really? I think itchy.
You'd rather be itchy?
Than sticky? Like, is it? I don't know if it's like sticky to touch. Like,
Be like, yeah, like I don't know. Like, do your thighs keep making weird noises when you walk?
Allow you to keep going with the conversation that you're going
then
with.
you'll
I
have
felt
some
like it was
weird
good.
like chafing issues. That sounds terrible in general.
It does, but itching, like that sounds like a horror movie. Like, you know, that you would be itchy for the rest of your life until you go absolutely insane and you rip all your skin off. That doesn't sound fun.
That's valid.
There's her next book.
Valid. Yeah, right.
You're welcome.
There you go.
So you guys are going with sticky?
I'm going sticky.
Okay.
Sticky. I don't want to be itchy.
Okay. This one's really random. We could thank Google for this one. Would you rather be born with an elephant trunk or a giraffe neck?
Where did you find these questions?
I Googled.
Oh, God.
Our friend Google.
I'm gonna say a giraffe neck because, you know, then I could look around corners.
Yeah, because what's that trunk gonna do? It kind of gets in the way.
It sounds like it's gonna get in the way too. Yeah, totally. I mean, think neck too.
You think of a guy, like it's all in the way. Like I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I think neck is.
I'm with you on the
option. Neck. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the last one. Would you rather be a superhero or a wizard? I think wizard.
Wizard?
Yeah.
Why? What would you do when you're a wizard?
I don't know. I think you do like spells and shit. That sounds cool. You could wear like a cool ass cape. I guess you could wear a cape either way if you wanted.
We're in quarantine. Well, no, we're not really in quarantine. But I mean, if you're like behind a screen or something, you wouldn't see it.
Why would I be behind a screen?
I don't know.
I can be a wizard anywhere I want.
Oh. You're right. You do what you want.
Well, like, yeah,
witcher could be cool.
I'd go for wizard too. Superheroes always have to save people and fix stuff.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Just do whatever the hell they want. Exactly what you're saying. Right?
They got their little wand and they do shit.
Yeah,
right?
I guess you could be a witch too. Witch
no
or wizard.
responsibility to humanity whatsoever.
But a lot of fun. A lot of potential fun.
Yeah, you come up with your own little spells and stuff.
Yeah, could be fun.
Oh my god. Your
so would you go wizard or superhero?
Wizard.
Yeah. You're making fun of me for wizard and you're like,
yeah, of course. Of course I'm going to make fun of you. All right.
Okay. All right, let's get back to like normal stuff.
Right. Those questions were very lackluster.
I liked them. I thought they were fun. Okay. So since we focused on Petra's Ghost mostly, in your kind of thriller theme, you have Candace Starr, which is kind of like a crime thriller. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Candace?
Well, Candace is a 6'3" former hitwoman who
badass bitch.
Who's a total badass bitch, absolutely. And it was funny because I sent off Petra's Ghost to an agent, and they had said. Sent it back to me and said, wonderfully written, great characters, beautiful writing, but it's not commercial enough. And so I went up to my writing desk and I said, I'm going to show you fucking commercial.
Good for you, girl.
You can't tell me.
I wrote the first book in a month, and yeah, Candace, she slams bad guys up against slushy machines, and she's really, really funny and a total bitch, a real anti-hero. But yeah, and so. So that's Candace, but she kind of acts as she is kind of an avatar for most women. You know, like with most of women, we are risk or danger averse because we have to be. And so Candace was a character where, you know, any woman who ever did want to slam a bad guy up against the slushy machine gets to kind of live vicariously through what she does there. But yeah, she's trying to go straight in the first book. She's gotten out of prison and she's trying to behave herself, and she's not doing a very good job.
She sounds fun.
Yeah.
She is a lot of fun. She is a lot of fun. She
Does
does
she
lots
have
of silly stuff.
Does she have some of your personality in her as well?
Uh-huh.
Well, I kind of use her to get up, to say all the things that I want to say, but I don't
Mhm.
say because I'm too polite, nice lady.
You can get it
So
out
she
through your
gets,
writing.
Yeah.
yes,
What a great
that's the
outlet.
other great thing about being a writer, get to say the shit that you want to say.
Uh-huh.
But also, in that genre, but it's really what it's like, noir, hard boiled kind of genre, right? There's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of racism. Traditionally, that kind of stuff in there. A lot of misogyny,
Mhm.
and women are either femme fatales or idiots.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I really wanted to write a book that kind of put that on its head, and so Candace gives me a soapbox to get up on, without, because she's too much of a badass to ever sound like she's preaching to people or anything. But when she
Mhm.
sees people being idiots about those various things, she calls it out. So it was interesting to me that sometimes people said in the book, oh, there was this and there was that, and there was racism and there was sexism, and every time there is, Candace is coming out against it and having something to say about it in
Mm.
a funny way, but still
Sure.
she's making
She's getting her
commentary.
point across.
She's getting her
Absolutely.
point across. So she gave me a little bit of a, a, a medium for kind of getting those thoughts off my chest sometimes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that was fun. She's actually set in the United States. I lived in the States for a while. I lived.
Mhm.
You talked about New York. I lived
Mhm.
in Connecticut for
Mhm.
3 years as a kid.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of experience, but you know, you guys are an awful lot like us. It isn't too hard to write something in the States.
Right.
Of course.
But she sounds like even though she kind of does some questionable things, it sounds like, but she sounds like she can still be motivational and inspirational, especially to women or anything. And I think that's huge and important, and especially for women now. I think that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a character arc there. She's
Mm-hmm.
kind of tough to love in the beginning, but
Mm-hmm.
she gets more, she learns to be a little gentler as
Mm-hmm.
life goes on, or to appreciate people. I mean, I think from the beginning it's like she doesn't need people, and
Yeah,
she
kind of
doesn't need
guarded.
friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was really neat in the first book. She teams up with this detective Chen Sheng Malone, and who is a woman, and they become friends. And Candace has really never had a friend, so it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of an interesting look at
It's her
women's
journey,
friends.
Yeah,
basically.
watching her
Mhm.
learn and experience things. Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
but mostly she's just really funny and violent.
Funny. You know what?
I'm already interested. So,
Yeah.
will you read us some from Candace Starr?
Oh, sure. This one, I know you. This is a
Don't deprive us
whole
of it.
other side of the library, okay?
I love it. I love it.
So this is from the latest book. The first book was the Star Sting Scale. Say that 3 times fast. And then this most recent one that came out in March is called Star Sign. And Candace has just woken up after a night of far too much whiskey. She was out some kind of Comic-Con for murderers. I don't know. Anyway, it is never a good plan to wake up and not know where you are. I know I'm not at home when I first hear the birds chirping outside the window. In the one-room apartment above the Easy Market where I've lived the last few years, there are only shit-disturbing pigeons to annoy you in the morning. They don't chirp. They just coo and warble until you become convinced there's a Jersey girl on the roof faking her first orgasm. But when you're a woman who has made a career out of binge drinking, waking up in places you don't expect is an occupational hazard. Don't get the wrong impression. I'm not an alcoholic in the traditional sense. Alcoholism is when your drinking gets in the way of your job or personal life. I don't have a job, and my personal life suits me just fine. Mostly because I'm my own best company, my greatest source of entertainment. You learn to rely on only yourself when you spend the first half of your life growing up with a hitman for a father and the other half following in his footsteps. I've been out of the game a few years now, ever since I got out of prison and my dad got whacked, but I make no excuses for the life I led before that. It paid the rent. It fed my dog when I had one. It kept me in copious bottles of Jägermeister in my 20s. But you make a number of enemies and rack up some pretty bad karma as a professional assassin. My daily drinking is just a means to an end. I'm not sure what that end is, but I intend not to be sober when I meet it.
Oh,
that
I
was
like
good.
that a lot. I like me some Candace.
She kind of is a badass bitch. Like
Uh-huh.
I mean, I love that.
I
That
love any
one's on
woman who just.
audiobook. Well, the first book's on audiobooks,
Mhm.
the Star Sting Scale. So
I love
there
any
you
woman who
go.
just doesn't give a shit. And it's
I
like, I am
know.
who I am, so
Yes.
fucking deal with it.
How many books
I
do you
love it.
plan on writing, or do you have like an end, or is it just a couple of books? Is it a lot of books? What are you thinking with that one?
This last one I wrote during the pandemic, and I hate to
Mhm.
keep coming back to that, but I guess it's it's kind of
Oh no,
a
it's part of
moment
it.
It's
that's
important.
defined us all,
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
it was tough. It's tough. It was really, really hard, and I've put my writing down for a while now. I have Eve's Rib, which is coming out next year,
Mhm.
um, but I've sort of decided that I'm if you asked me a few months ago, Courtney, I would have said, I'm never ever writing another book again.
I'm done.
But never is a long, long time. So
Mhm.
we'll see. And this has been a lot of basically I've put out 4 books in in as many years, and that's a lot. A lot of people take 10 years to write a book, and I've been pushing them out pretty regularly. So I'm looking at a break right now, but life is long. And
It
there's all
is.
sorts of weird people that I need to get back at and put in my books. So,
You can't put a time on a really good book.
It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I used to read a lot before I had children. And this
They
is like
do that.
actually, yeah, Petra's Ghost is like the first one that I actually have read since my oldest is 8.
I was gonna say,
It's
you're
been
trying
a
to figure out how old your children are.
I
Is that what you're
am.
doing?
Oh my god, it's a lot. It's like 5, 8, 10, I don't know. But yeah, it's probably been a good 7 or 8 years since I actually sat down and read a book before Petra's Ghost. So it was nice.
Mhm.
I could actually like sit down and like read it, and enjoy it. I loved it.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about Eve's Rib?
You want to tell us a
Oh,
little about Eve's Rib?
Eve's Rib with the terrifying teenage girl. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's it's a very different book yet again. Like, I keep coming up with, that's one thing, you'll never find anything that's quite the same. In terms of writing style, it's more like Petra's Coast in the idea that it's more literary, but it's actually written from 3 perspectives. So the mother, Eve, her husband, Richard, and their teenage daughter, Abby. And so so it's really interesting to have like 3 different voices, coming along, and Richard's like, men apparently, what they're supposed to think about sex 6,000 times a day or something like that. What is it?
Something.
The
That sounds about
statistic
right.
anyway.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So stuff sounds really different, and then Eve is probably more my voice, and then of course Abby is full. Um, uh, Adolescent angst, evil in her entirety. But so it's a story of this family, and the thing is that, and this is where the more Stephen Kingish stuff comes in. Eve is Eve is, I hesitate to use the word witch. She's somebody who's been able to use some kind of supernatural abilities at some time, and she used them to get pregnant with her daughter Abby. And she actually she brought in a dude they call the Rag Man in order to make that happen.
Oh.
And
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. So now Abby's a teenage girl, and they're kind of wondering that there's something wrong with Abby, and it might have had something to do with how she was brought into this world by
Conceived.
this rather different way of conceiving. And
Sure.
so
Yeah.
but the whole thing that I'm playing on there is you're never quite sure whether Abby is just like any other teenage girls. 'Cause like I said, I used pretty much everything that Abby does and says from real life experiences of teenage girls. So they're never quite sure, but by the end you sort of find out. But
That was
you're
very
never quite
vague.
sure.
You're
You're
gonna
never
make
quite
us
sure.
read. You're just gonna make us read it, aren't you? That's
100%.
exactly what's gonna happen.
To see where the evil really is. But it gave me an ability to, because the mother in it, Eve, like, her son dies, her young son dies, and she becomes incredibly depressed. And so I thought it gave me a chance to sort of look at grief and depression and how it could like lay low even someone who was like supernaturally powerful, like she loses all her powers. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way. I mean, I don't want you guys to think it's like a witch book. It's not a witch book. But it was a way to kind of look at that how somebody could be really laid low, and that you could be an incredibly powerful person, and in this case, in fact, supernaturally or preternaturally powerful in some ways, and
Yeah,
even
really
she
cool.
could be completely leveled by grief and depression. But then she has to get her act together because she's got to do something about Abby.
Well, yeah, she has somebody that she's got to care for. So yeah.
Yes. So it's a different one.
What made you want to go back to that thriller kind of horror genre after working on Candace Starr, hopping back to kind of that thriller vibe? What made you want to go that route?
My husband always says that every time I write a story, somebody has to end up dying in it. Like there's always something macabre. And listen, Candace Starr, I realized both of those books, somebody gets an appendage cut off or severed,
You gotta do what you
in
gotta do.
graphic
Yeah.
detail.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think I ever really stray incredibly far from that. So
Okay.
I originally started writing this book, and it was the story of a family, and eventually the all sorts of creepy nutty stuff started happening. And it's sort of, I don't think you choose to write certain books as much as books choose to write you.
Sure.
It
And
seems that way.
Yeah.
or to be written. So but yeah, admittedly, I started writing a really beautiful story about this woman who was making brown bread back in Ireland. This is a recipe that my mother-in-law gave me from Ballinruan, Ireland, and so it was all about, it's the 1800s, and she's making it's a commentary on feminism in the early 1900s, and I don't know what else. And she ends up poisoning her children at the end. So I mean, it just always happens. I just can't seem to help it.
You know what? Death is happening. Like, it's fine.
It's real.
You gotta go
fine.
with it. It's reality, right?
Yeah. Too much Stephen King at a young age.
You got a little bit of mix of everything. Yeah. So it's like, a couple of fingers here that get cut off, and somebody's
Couple
murdered over here.
Whatever. Yeah.
Lots of drinking, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know. Anyway, my husband worries because he sees my Google history, and there's like I'm collecting ways to murder people, and he gets a little concerned.
I gotta delete that history, girl.
Yeah,
No.
he's like, honey, the FBI just contacted me,
Should
and
I be concerned?
Yes. Yeah, my Google history is putting me away. He laughs about it. He says, if anything ever happens to me, you are going to jail.
End of story.
Yeah.
Do you have any bit of eavesdrop that you can read to us?
I do. I mean, it's not, it hasn't even been edited. So this is really
Oh, this is
exclusive.
raw.
stuff,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Okay. And I took it from Abby's section, even though like to some extent I feel like I said, it keeps changing perspective of the different family members, but Abby's is like the rawest writing you can have because it's her teenage diary. It's not going to have like colorful stuff or whatever. It's just what it is, right? But she's so much fun. I wanted to use one of her pieces, and so like I said, we're never quite sure if Abby is truly evil or she's just a teenage girl, and but one thing Abby likes to do is there's this guy at school called Dylan Penske, and she likes to torture him. She likes to torture him by she's in Catholic school and she's got the kilt going on, and she likes to hike it up in class and show him the garters.
Just a big
so
tease.
Gets,
Yep.
yeah, and he gets a boner and he has to leave, and humiliate him, right?
I love that. I love it because you know what? That's real life. That's real life.
And Dylan Penske has a bit of a misshapen head.
Oh.
So her friend and her call him Funnel Head.
Wow.
And so anyway, this is her and Selena getting ready to write some notes to Dylan, he of the Funnel Head. And they're in their room and they're working on these notes. And full disclosure, my girlfriend and I actually did this when I was 14, and I am so ashamed.
Oh, I can't wait. I'll listen. I'll enter my seat.
Selena and I worked on our next dear old Funnelhead note tonight in her room. We've been slipping the notes into Dylan Penske's locker all week. They all start off with, "Dear old Funnelhead, how I wish that you were dead." We cut out letters and words from the newspaper and paste them in like old school blackmail letters. Selena's parents still get the Times on Saturdays. What a bunch of backward fucking peasants. Dear old Funnelhead, how I wish that you were dead. In the night I will come creeping, stab you 10 times, and watch the blood seeping. That one was Selena's. I wrote the follow-up. Of my quest for blood I will never tire. Around your neck goes a piano wire. LMFAO. We watched Dylan from around the corner when he opened up that one. Saw the way his face kind of crumpled up and he looked around the school hallway all nervous, like he got caught having a boner about me again. Honestly, it's just a fucking joke. Who's going to take something like that seriously? I suggested I'll twist the knife and watch you quiver, then gut you out and eat your liver. But Selena said it was too intense.
I would say.
Watch your step. This isn't for fun. Don't look now. I've got a gun. That's what Selena came up with. Beyond the fact that it is really sad poetry, I pointed out that neither of us had a gun. She got all upset about that. Like I meant we were actually going to do the things we were threatening Funnelhead with. For goodness sakes, like I said, it's just a joke. But that doesn't mean you don't have to think about realism. Then we spent 20 minutes trying to rhyme something with poison, but that is goddamn impossible. We finally settled on, I'll bury you alive with all the other ass hats and watch you be eaten by hungry rats. Not perfect, but it'll have to do.
She is a very colorful character, I must say.
Are you saying that you and your friend wrote those dark letters to somebody, or just like wrote letters fucking with somebody?
We did write, "Dear old Funnelhead, how I wish that you were dead." And yeah, in the night I will come creeping, stab you 10 times, and watch the blood sleeping. Yes, we did.
Okay, your novels make a lot more sense now, for sure.
We cannot believe it.
We need to talk to your husband now.
If you're out there, you know who you are. We did this, and Funnelhead, you're somewhere wondering where those notes come from. I am so sorry.
You're like, he was me.
He's in a hospital right now, still recovering from those letters.
I know. So yeah,
that's so funny.
That's Abby, but that was a funny one because it was something that actually did. And then I had to come because we only did a couple of notes like that, and then I think I might have finally started to feel badly about what we were doing or something, and so then I had to come up with new ones.
Were they nicer or were they just kind of not as colorful?
Right.
What? Oh, the real ones, the actual ones.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no,
yeah.
like those were some of those are the actual ones.
They were all dark.
Once your neck
They're
goes
all
a piano
dark.
wire, that yes, absolutely. They were very, very clever young ladies. And I don't even know why we didn't like this guy. I don't know. We just decided we didn't like him, and we called him Funnelhead, and we
Poor
did
old
this.
Funnelhead.
Did
And
he have
and
like
I
a
like to think I was a nice girl. I wasn't one of those I wasn't a mean kid. But then I thought, but I did this thing, and I talked to a lot of women who said things to me. They said, I can remember them putting a tack on this girl's chair, and we all laughed, and I felt bad about it, but we still all laughed, and these people didn't grow up to be axe murderers, and I find it unbelievable to think of like I said, I wasn't what I would have called one of the mean girls, and most people I know aren't, but everybody had a story of some unbelievably stupid and cruel thing they did when they were
Usually,
younger.
yeah, and a lot of times with girls, it's usually toward like other girls. A lot of times,
Yeah.
it's just like some girls just being bitches.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
I think everybody has a story at
uncomfortable
some
toward other
point.
girls. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the girls on Girl can be very. What did Elaine say in Seinfeld? We didn't beat each other up like the boys. We just teased each other until someone got an eating disorder.
Yes. Basically.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot worse.
Yeah.
Psychological harm for sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
When does this book is it gonna come out? Like when are you expect to release
All I
it?
can say for now is sometime next year. I'm quite hopeful that it'll be out in the summer so we can get the sort of doc read, because I kind of feel that it's going to have that kind of vibe, because um, there's a lot of kind of suspenseful. I guess it's got a kind of domestic noir feel. They're billing it as a thriller rather than horror, but it's got all those supernatural elements in it, and
Sure.
that nasty guy called the Ragman. So
Can't forget about him.
You have some villains in there. Okay.
So that's when I hope it's coming out, but I won't know until the end of June for sure what the actual date is. But I'll keep
Of
you
course.
posted.
It sounds great. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be another one, and it'll be nice to put out a book that's not during a pandemic.
How refreshing.
Yeah, well, even just to be able to see people in person
Yeah.
and stuff like that, all the
Absolutely.
launches and everything, it's all had to be virtual, which is a bummer.
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
really different. It is very different being virtual than being in like face to face with somebody.
For sure.
So
Had to be creative though, right? Makes you more creative in some ways. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait for it to come out. We're gonna check it out for
I know.
sure. It sounds really good.
We have all kinds of stuff to look forward from you.
Absolutely. Well, we really do appreciate you coming on to our show and chatting with us. We've honestly thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. It was
Yes.
really nice to officially meet you.
Well, it was lovely to chat with you guys as well. It was so much fun, and my God, I mean, you let me go on and on about myself. It's just really, really difficult for a writer to sit there and talk about their work and their books and everything. Me. Well, that's so tough on me.
I don't know if I want to talk about myself. Don't make me do that.
So thank you for letting me talk about those things. It's been great.
Of course.
And I
Do you
love
have
what you guys are doing. It was
Thank
so
you.
much fun. Oh my God. I want you
Yeah,
to
we
do
have
the
a
movie
blast
Get
doing it.
Out, or one of the really old ones like The Other. That's the scariest freaking film I've ever seen in my life.
The other?
Okay.
The Other.
All right.
It's from the 70s. It's a long time ago, my
Okay,
friend.
so maybe it'll be okay. Okay. Might be okay, maybe.
We'll see. You know what? Just for you, we're going to add it to the list. Yeah, we'll do that.
Next season we have our request seasons, and we're
We'll
gonna
put that one on for you.
Well,
We'll put
there we go.
you on there.
That's an oldie, but it scared the living crap out of me when I was about 12, and it just stuck with me ever since.
Still haunting you, yeah. Well, do you have anything else that you want to plug or tell people where they can find you?
Like I said, I have a website called shekillslit.com. And on it, you can find out all about my books, but also about a whole bunch of other books, because I review and I interview, as you guys are interviewing women writers of thrillers and noir. So
That's cool.
I've got some cool stuff on there, and that's fun. And you can hear it, and you can look up all the Camino stuff, and you can see all the things. You can see a picture of me at the wine fountain on there.
Awesome.
And then I guess Twitter is at She Kills Lit, and I'm Okaneda1 on the Instagram. I'm not on the YouTube like you guys, but
Well, we're like newly
No,
there,
yeah,
so
we're
don't give
newly-
us too
we're
much
not-
credit.
don't get crazy. We're getting there. Baby steps.
but yeah, and I'm somewhere on Facebook. Put my name in, you'll find me.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Carol, thank you so much. It was
Thank
really, really
you.
great meeting you.
It was nice meeting you guys.